Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Is this thing on? Hey, I see a red light, and it is on. Hey, everybody. Chef Eric Eisenbud here, the Grateful Chef. Welcome once again to the Grateful Chef Kitchen, where each and every week, usually on a Wednesday, today is a Thursday, but each and every week we bring in you live cooking videos, things that I find out there in the interwebs throughout the week, things that intrigue me, ingredients that I find in a market that I think are really excellent that I want to bring to you. And I do it with my heart open and my kitchen open, my home open to you, so you can join me, because I'm not doing this alone. Don't claim to know everything there is to know about cooking. I know where to get all the information, though, so I'm real good at that. And I am so grateful that you have joined me once again. And if you are new and this is your first episode of The Grateful Chef with Eric Eisenbud, please feel free to chime in. Tell us who you are, where you're from. Make comments. We love it. We have Lynn, who, to the best of her ability, tries to bring up some questions that you guys ask. She is checking out a few different pages, so trying to keep on top of that while trying to run the camera and keep me in line as the producer, the camera woman, and the wind beneath my wings.
And I'll warn you,
yeah, she is.
I'm a little under the weather.
Been a little under the weather for a week or so, so that's why we had to postpone yesterday. But we are here today, and we have a really great and exciting episode for you today. An episode that is filled with some of the Grateful Chef's favorite ingredients and tools throughout this cooking. Not even a class. It's just cooking. We're having fun in the kitchen. And so what we're going to do is, tonight, going back to something I haven't done in quite a while, I have a Steakager Pro 40, and I have dry aged a New York strip, a nice prime New York strip, and I have got a bone-in ribeye in there. And lo and behold, yesterday, the New York strip was done. 35 days, we've aged it. And why do we hit 35 days? Because that is kind of like a compromise amount of time that Lynn and I have developed to satisfy both of our flavor profiles. I like it a little bit longer. She's okay with the 35, and I'm okay with the 35. So we go 35 on a boneless New York strip. The ribeye, we're going longer. It's got the bone in. We're going 45 days. So that's why we did 35 days. The Steakager Pro 40, performed flawlessly, beautifully, held the temperature perfectly. In a minute, we're going to walk over there and we're going to see what we got going on over there. Anyway, so yeah, that's what we're doing tonight. Dry aged steak. Who doesn't love a great steak? Dry aged steak brings steak to a greater level. The Steakager does a great job at surpassing steaks that I have had in some really high-end steakhouses here in the New York City metropolitan area. So I'm real happy with the results of it. 35-day dry-aged prime New York strip. Let's get the blackboard out of the way. We're going to start cooking. We are going to take a little walk over to the Steakager Pro 40 and see what we got going on there. We're going to pull this New York strip. Let's go for a walk. Awesome. And there they are. My Steakager Pro Tower of Power going on over here. So just so you may ask, yes, I have two. This is a dual mode unit. I do charcuterie in here. As you can see, I'm going to open up real quick. I've got a that is a copa, so like a capicola, coated in Szechuan peppercorns and spices. And this is a sopressata that I purchased at an Italian market for the sole reason because it's got all that great white mold on it. So I have that hanging in the back, and that white mold is going to migrate to my own homemade charcuterie. So I won't eat that unless like it's the apocalypse and I got nothing else left. So that's just there to share its good white mold with other things that are hanging in here.
And
yes, Lynn.
As you have that open or closed, a little disclaimer on the lights.
Oh yeah, so the lights, I added these LED strip lights just for video purposes. It makes you guys be able to see what's going on inside here. It's a little battery operated unit. So these lights do not come with the Pro series, but that humidification device does, and it does a great job. So I'm going to close this. That's been open long enough. And we are going to get to tonight, the task at hand. 35-day dry-aged prime New York strip. And here's that bone-in ribeye. You can hear the powerful fans blowing around. These things, you hopefully saw the video of me tying these up. This was the first one I did. Wasn't 100% happy with it, but live and learn. So I may have a little more loss because when I was tying it, it dug into the meat a little bit. I'm not worried about it. Why worry? I'll make more. That's my thought, you know? So we're going to pull this guy out. There we go.
That's a beauty.
And here, let's give a little quick spin of the bone-in ribeye so you can see what's going on with this. There's the bones. That is just hanging up there. It's beautiful. The pellicle is formed. Nice, hard, waxy outer surface, protecting all that glorious meat. We're going to get to that in a couple weeks, maybe a week or 10 days.
How long was that in there so far?
This one, let's see if I have it. I don't have it. This is going 45 days, another week or so. Yeah. So we're going to take a walk back over to the cutting board, and we're going to do this thing.
And you've got BJ Martell from Nova Scotia, Canada.
Hey, BJ.
And I saw Tyler over there from, I think, Minnesota as well.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'm not going to bore you guys with breaking down the entire thing. I'll go over a couple of simple things that you want to know. So I'm going to first I'm going to remove all this, because when you got to cut like this, you don't really want to cut like a steak or two off of it and throw it back in, because you risk cross-contamination. So I will break the whole thing down either later tonight or tomorrow, cut it into steaks, trim the steaks, and vacuum seal them, and I'll put them in the freezer. But for tonight, I'm going to show you how to cut a couple of steaks. We're going to take all the string off. And again, I lived and learned. The string, maybe I tied it too tight. It dug into the meat, which is not optimal. But, yeah, next time I'll do better. I promise. And that's all I can ask for in life. As long as I do better tomorrow than I did today, it's awesome. All right, so I'm going to try and quickly cut.
That was also the one that was really soft.
Yeah, and it was really soft. It was the first subprimal that I ever hung by string, because the old method I was using, it would sit on a shelf, so I was not practiced or well schooled in it. So, yes, beautiful. I do want to take all these strings off. I'll cut them in the back here. Hopefully not bore you. And tonight I'm just serving the steak. I've got some simple sides. I have some mashed sweet potato with bacon and maple syrup. And I did just a nice peas with leeks and a little dry vermouth. And I did not have dill, which would be my herb of choice, but I did have a couple of fennel bulbs in the refrigerator, so I just took some of the fronds, the stuff that looks like dill, and I put it in there. A little salt and pepper, and those are steamed in the pot in the back. So I'm just using my paring knife, and I'm cutting through these strings. And we will remove them all so we can get a really good look at this.
And we're on close-up, by the way.
Excellent. So I will try not to move it. Beautiful. Awesome. Who's watching? Any new people out there?
From Steve Astron, he said, "Have you noticed a difference from hanging it versus resting it on a rack?"
I don't know yet. We're going to find out together.
So as you said, it's the first one we've done hanging.
Yes, this is the first one I've done hanging in the new Steakager Pro 40. So I have experience with previous models. but I do not have experience with this as far as dry aging, because when I got I got the Pro 40 dual mode first, and I jumped right into charcuterie, and that has been an outrageous experience. The you know, what I've taken out of that has been unbelievable. So the first thing I do notice is that from tying it, it curved a little bit, and that wouldn't happen if it was sitting on a rack. Not sure if it will flatten. Sure it will. Okay, so basics of dry aging. We have what's called the pellicle. It's this waxy outside. That's why when we ask for subprimals, we want full fat on it, because this fat will protect the meat. And you know, it's a little bit harder. Here's the meat side, so it's a little bit harder on this side. And let's decide what side I want to cut from. I think I'm going to cut from this side. They're going to be a little bit smaller steaks, but I trust it so it kind of came together, held its shape. Yes, Lynn?
From Darren Norris, what temp and humidity did it hold at for 35 days? It looks awesome.
The average temperature was 37 degrees, and the average humidity was mid-70s the entire time.
And you got John Northrop.
Beautiful.
Good.
All right, so first thing we want to do is we want to cut these ends off. And you really want to cut into, you see red meat. So I'm going to
zoom in again.
I'm using my scimitar. It's a proper knife to cut beef roasts with. It's quite hard. So you can see here, you're starting to see the beautiful red meat. The meat side is a little bit deep. So I'm going to cut a little bit more off. And none of this is going to waste. I will grind. I will grind it and add it to fresh meat to make burgers. That looks beautiful.
Wow, that looks really rich.
I'll add it to make burgers. I'll also use this pellicle to make beef stock. It's phenomenal. Dry aged beef stock is killer. So I'm going to take the other side off, and we'll see. This one's a little, like, wasn't squared off. So again, I'm not worried about cutting a lot off because I'm using it. I'm using it. It's just the two of us. So I'm not worried about, you know, cutting off a steak's worth. But this looks absolutely delicious. Let me show you what this looks like close up. It is a small eye, and that is a byproduct of the cut that I bought. So let's see if you can see how beautiful that mahogany color, the beautiful marbling, fantastic. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut a couple of steaks. Let's see, which side do I want to cut them from? I'm only going to cook one steak tonight. You know what? I'm going to cut it from this side.
So as you're cutting, you also have Butch C. He said, looks great.
Hey, Butch.
And we've got Greg Bolte. I'm new.
Hey, Greg, welcome. Thanks for joining us, man. This is what we do every week. It's fun. So what I usually do is I use my thumb as a guide. The first joint's about 1 inch. So I'll hold my knife up here, hold my thumb against it, kind of give it myself a little mark. If I want to go a little bit bigger, I will, 1.25 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and cut a steak.
And we've got Jim Taylor.
Hey, Jim.
And we've got Sushi Julie.
Hi, Julie. All right, this is beautiful. So the deeper we get into this, I'm going to cut one more steak because maybe I'll cook the center cut steak today. Oh, it's gorgeous. The smell of this, it's so nutty. I love it.
You've got the firefighters from Pasco County, Florida watching.
Nice.
So we've got Philip Roman said that. I mentioned Tyler Brown from...
Oh, it smells so delicious. Now take a look at this.
I'm going to zoom in for you.
I'm going to bring it to you guys too.
Oh.
And maybe shut that light off so we can get true in living color.
Let's see.
It's a little bit dark. And turn it back on. Let's see.
It's a little glowy with the white.
Yeah, it's a little glowy with the fat. But, I mean, how could that be bad? All right? So I've got 2 steaks. I'm going to trim these 2 steaks. I will handle the rest of this later. So now we want to cut the pellicle off. It's really difficult to cut the pellicle off of the whole roast because, you know, to kind of cut all the way across the thing. Much easier to do steaks. And what I'm cutting off is just stuff that is too hard. I don't mind that it's dark because that's just a little oxidation. It's the stuff that's hard that's not palatable. It doesn't feel good in your mouth. You really, you know, you really want to cut it off. That's the only reason why you cut it off. There's a ton of flavor in that pellicle. So I will cut this entire edge off. and really going by feel. You just want to feel what's really, really hard. Take it off, and kind of be mindful, because you do want it to look like a steak. You don't want it to look like something from geometry class, like a trapezoid or anything. So what I like to do is I like to cut in, and I like to go down and around. I want to put on my pan, get it hot while we're doing that. And I am using my pan today is my Stargazer cast iron. This is another tool that the Grateful Chef loves. I love the company. I love their product. It is it's a phenomenal cast iron pan. A little departure from the one that we're all used to. I have a Lodge as well. So it's a little bit of departure. It's not black. It's not pre-seasoned. It's an extremely smooth surface. I love it. And it's great for cooking steaks. So this little tail fat, I'm cutting off.
And Bryce Jump said it was a very nice fat cap on that.
Yes, very nice.
And John Northwood, that looks good.
Awesome. So here we go. And that's pretty much it. That's all it takes, guys. A little hard on the other side. Just, again, rounding it off, making yourself a nice steak. Now this was, again, sometimes you get a subprimal. I mean, this is a pretty small steak. I may end up cooking both of these just because I can fit them in the pan. But other than that, this is beautiful. What you can do is take a little paring knife, because this is the good fat that's going to melt. So I will sometimes score the fat, a little crisscross pattern that'll help render some of it out when I cook it. And that is that. Let me get a little tray.
And you've got Zach Page from Savannah, Georgia.
All right. All right. All right. Beautiful. Thanks, Zach. Thanks for joining us. We're going to trim this one real quick, and we're going to get it onto the Stargazer.
And you've got Shane Jones. Hello from New Orleans.
I love me some NOLA. I love me some Georgia too. Maybe I've got some Southern boy in me a little bit, because I just love it down south. I do have family in Marietta, but they are expats from up here in New Jersey. Been there a long time. All right. Again, just going to cut some of that brown, hard fat off. Gorgeous.
And another question about the humidity again. So from Ray Taylor, what was the humidity level towards the end of the 35 days?
Mid-70s. It's been a solid average humidity in the 70s.
And just for reference, the humidity in our house is pretty solid at 43%.
Yeah. So it's the Steakager Pro, Pro 40. Has nothing to do with the ambient. And now the single mode dry aging unit does not have a humidification device per se. It's algorithm and the chill and warm up, warm up. That is how the humidity is controlled. But it doesn't have that same humidifying device that the charcuterie machine has.
And the charcuterie one has it for the charcuterie.
Yes, and that is to be used only for the charcuterie. All right, so here we go. We've got our second steak. Beautiful. The smell of this is outstanding. I'm going to score the fat just because I did it on the other one. And you don't have to do this. This is just some fancy chef thing, I guess. All right. All this pellicle will go into a bag, into the freezer. I'll collect it until I have enough. We're going to go simple. A little salt, little salt. We want to liberally salt. And I do not put pepper, because pepper at a high temperature will burn and turn bitter, and that is the last thing we want. So we want to make sure that we get a nice coat of salt on this steak.
And Ryan Bates says it looks amazing, and we've got Pete Wells from East Prairie, Montana.
Hey, beef country, love it. Awesome. All right. would you meet me over at the stove? I'm ready. I am ready to get myself a little long, loud. All right. I'm going to turn up my...
And your steaks are in my spot.
I'm going to turn up my vent. Hopefully it's not too loud, guys. And hopefully you can see. How's it look?
Looks fantastic.
Fantastic. All right, so I am going to put a little tiny bit of oil. I'm working at a high temperature, so I'm using avocado oil. This is 500 plus degrees. You can use this avocado oil. It imparts no flavor like olive oil, and it won't, you know, it has a much higher smoke point. You can see it smoking, so this pan is ripping. So just a little bit. I'm going to swirl it around. And let me show you that this thing has been on. One of the cool things about the Stargazer pan is the cool handle. You don't get that. I don't get that with my other cast iron. It's a beautiful thing. Yes, dear.
So you've got Bill Deal. He said, that looks terrible. You better send it to me for proper disposal since I'm a sanitation relocation engineer.
Hey, what?
He's a sanitation
Wow.
guy. So he is offering to take this off of your hands.
Nice.
And then Michael Garabian, he's asked, what is your favorite steak seasoning?
You know what? Oh, most of the time, it is a simple salt. Salt at the beginning, pepper at the, you know, towards the end or at the end. But oh, my steak fell. I have been known to use another one of my favorite ingredients, the Boar's Night Out White Lightning garlic butter, double garlic butter in the, and their regular White Lightning, phenomenal. It's great. All right. I'm trying to, what I want to do is I want to sear the fat capsule just a little bit, get some of that fat to render. Gorgeous. Got this about medium high now. I let it heat up for a good, 10 minutes. Now, what you need to know about dry aged beef, it's going to cook about 25% quicker. All right. I have my insurance policy, my instant read thermometer, because it's the only way to really know when your steak is rare, medium, you know, that kind of thing, is to know the temperature. So they use them in restaurants, trust and believe, although a lot of chefs now can do it by feel. Yes, Lynn?
I've got a few things out there from Steakager page.
Yes.
From Peter Henry, looking good, chef. Gen 1 Steakager owner here, making me think I need to upgrade. I think so.
I'm going to say that you would not be disappointed. You would not be disappointed. It has been a joy. It has been a joy working with the Pro 40. It's just everything that I want a Steakager to be. So I would say yes, go for it. All right, so I've got that fat seared, a little bit brown. It's rendered some of it into the pan, and I'm going in. I'm dropping them.
All right, then I've got, from Chad Hunter, great question. What is the biggest taste difference between a normal steak versus a dry aged? He's never had a dry aged steak.
Okay, so it's all about concentration of flavor and tenderness. So anytime you remove water from something, so I use this example, like when a chef reduces a sauce. Basically what you're doing is you're removing the moisture and concentrating the flavor. I can take a big pot of stock, chicken stock, beef stock, and I can boil it down or simmer it down, change it to a smaller pot, keep going, and I will end up with what's called a demi-glaze. And that is a syrupy consistency and an intense flavor, intense beef flavor. And it's all because we took the moisture out. So that's exactly what happens with dry aged steak. You're removing the moisture, you're enhancing that beef flavor, and then an enzymatic breakdown happens and tenderizes the meat. So it's a win-win. So it is a little bit nuttier and is a more beefier flavor. And with dry aged beef, especially when you're doing it at home, you gotta find your personal flavor profile. I know some guys have done 100-day dry aged. Most of them say they won't do it again, but they push the envelope. There's some places that sell a 400-day. I don't know what that stuff tastes like, but I do know that in the there's a 28-day minimum you want to go, and anywhere between 35 and 55 days. Some guys go 60. It's phenomenal. You get that nutty flavor. All right, this is beautiful. Let's see if we got a nice sear on there.
From Bradley Paul, sous vide, pan fry, reverse sear. What's the best for dry aged steaks?
Yes. Any of them. Not a huge fan of sous vide any steak unless like you're talking short ribs.
But that's your personal, because I've got Kevin over there going, hey.
Kevin loves it. I did a tri-tip. I like it with tri-tip. Beautiful.
So.
But my go-to is, especially with dry age, because it cooks so quickly, I have no problem doing it in the pan like this or on a grill over charcoal. All right, so you can see I got a beautiful sear on this side. I'm going to bring it close so you can see. That is a gorgeous, gorgeous sear. Flipping it.
And one thing just to consider is that if you're looking at different types of cooking,
yes,
it's all personal preference.
It certainly is.
So number of
There's
days.
no right or wrong way to do it. Whatever way you like.
And they all work.
Reverse sear, I will do on a big. If I had a 3-inch porterhouse or a 3-inch, maybe those bone-in ribeye. When I cut those, they're usually about 2.5 inches. Certainly do a reverse sear. You could even do a reverse sear in a pan. Instead of doing it super high temperature like this, start it at a low temperature. Bring it gently up to your 125 or 128 for medium rare, 128, 130. Let them rest. Heat the pan up and then do that final sear. Absolutely acceptable to do it that way. Turn on my sweet potatoes, and I'm going to go in and get our first reading here. It should be done shortly. All right, I'm still about 70 degrees, so I turn my temperature down. It's searing just fine. This one's about 86 degrees, 87. We still got some time to go. This would be rare, rare, rare. If you like it black and blue, where it's cool on the inside and seared on the outside, that's what we have right about now. So
we're zoomed in.
Good. While the steak is cooking, I would like to reveal the very first participant in the Send a Shirt, See a Shirt campaign that I put out there, and I thank you to the participants that sent shirt to me to be featured on the show. So this is our first week. I have it covered up. I've got some information about it, and this is from Handsome Devil. So they have a website, handsomedevilllc.com.
You are a handsome devil.
Why, thank you. And apparently I'm on the Handsome Devil Pit crew now. So these guys are out of Hudson Valley, New York, Newburgh. The owner is Ed Randolph. Thanks, Ed, for participating in this fun little aspect. And these guys basically, we're a little startup company, and since they have been cooking barbecue, they have won barbecue championships in multiple states. They are a featured vendor at Memphis in May, the greatest barbecue competition in all the land. They are also have been a featured vendor at the New York City Beer, Bourbon, and Barbecue Fest. They are the official caterer of the New York Air Show, and Warner Brothers premieres has them doing their catering. Really awesome. Ed tells me that he has a book out there called Smoked. It is a part travel, part cooking cookbook. And coming in April, he's got a new book coming out about pellet smoker cooking with lots of pellet smoker recipes for the backyard barbecue guy, like we all are. Their motto is all hustle. I love it. It is awesome. And again, it's www.handsomedevilllc.com. They're doing some high-end catering, not just barbecue catering. If you go to their website, check out their photos. It's awesome. Their food looks phenomenal. And I'm hoping to be able to taste it someday. All right. Let's see. Let's see where we're at with our steaks now. Yeah, 125, 126. Love it.
Are we ready to rest?
Yep, this one's done. These are done. I'm pulling them.
And we're moving?
We're moving over to the cutting board. What we're going to do is bring it over here, letting them rest. I'm going to take a few cloves of garlic. So this is just raw, fresh garlic, crushed, and I'm going to rub them on the warm steak, and it's going to impart a really nice, subtle garlic flavor. So now our seasoning is salt and garlic. Rub it in, flip it over. So what we're doing is we're letting it rest, as you should all meats that you cook, because you want those juices to distribute. So I want you to understand that just because it's dry aged does not mean that it's not a juicy steak. It's a beautiful thing. So rubbing the garlic. You should smell it in here right now. All right. And I'm also going to take a little bit. Usually I would do thyme with steak, but this is some really nice oregano that I had. I'm going to strip some off and put it on the steak. Again, this one too. And again, I'm just going to, and I always crush my herbs when I put them on, just so it releases some of the oil. And I just want to gently rub that in. That is also going to impart a little bit of flavor. Flip it over. We're going to do the same thing. So it's a little bit of an Italian steak. So yeah, you can have fun with this. You know, eat the steak plain, just salt and pepper if you want, but do a flavor profile that you like. You know, put a little bit of pepper on there. This is all going to, because the steak is warm, it's all going to add to the flavor profile. Nice. That is a beautiful thing. We're going to let that rest.
And Alan Bukowski said, thanks for the inspiration. I'm a longtime fan and owner of the original Steakager.
Awesome.
And he's got lots of pictures on his page.
Beautiful. All right, so I'm going to prepare our plates while that is resting. I've got two beautiful dishes. So this is the peas. Again, peas, leeks, the fronds from the fennel. I just steamed them. I cooked the leeks a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of peas on our plate. And this is a fun way to serve steak. You know, put it on a piece of wood. These are great. I think we got these at Home Goods. They were inexpensive.
Yeah, they were kind of like cheese boards, but we use them to plate steaks.
Beautiful. We've got our
Salvador Dominic just called you the food sensei.
nice. So again, these are sweet potatoes that I roasted, peeled them, put them in a bowl with some maple syrup and some cooked crispy bacon. So I'm going to put that over here. is really yummy.
Oh, and those sweet potatoes are just
Yeah, they were really, really sweet. These sweet potatoes came in my Misfits Market box, which is another ingredient or tool that we love here. We get it delivered every 2 weeks. It's organic produce. It is really inexpensive and reasonable. And I can now pick what I want. So I get a lot of aromatics, onions and garlic and things that I know I'm going to use. And then they always have a couple of cool things that I can add as a side dish. All right.
And just as another side comment on Misfits is that that's really Northeast. I think they're now in Florida.
Yeah, they are expanding. So I want you to notice one thing. These steaks have been resting, and there is no juice coming out of the steaks. So if it was a non-aged steak, you would have some juices falling into the pan. All the juices are in here. We've seared them. They're in there. And we're going to go ahead and slice this steak. All right. Beautiful. I'm going to slice it on here because cleanliness matters. All right. Let's see what we got. Now, when I cut my steaks, I'm going to use this one. The grain of the steak is going this way. So whenever we cook steak, we want to cut against the grain. So what I'll do is I'll cut it in half, like that. And then I'll turn, and I will slice. Just like that. That is a beautiful thing. I'm going to use that. And wait till you see how beautiful and juicy this steak is. Now you can cut these as thin or as thick as you want. No problem. All right. We'll keep going. Go cut into this one because that one's got a little bit of grizzle on the end. Again, cut in half, slice it up. Beautiful. This is so perfectly cooked, if I do say so myself.
Did you taste it?
I have not tasted it yet. I'm going to taste it, and then we're going to sign off. So this one, cutting like butter, I must say.
How's the texture feel?
It's really, really tender. All right, here we go. I'm going to try this piece right here. I want you to see this. I'm going to cut this grizzle off. Look how beautiful. That piece of meat is absolutely gorgeous. You can see, I'm going to get a different grip, the juiciness of this meat. Gorgeous. So dry aged does not mean it's dry. Here we go. Really good. So, looking for that nutty flavor. A lot of people talk about blue cheese. Sometimes I think it's too intense of a description. It is, if you go maybe the 100 or 300-400 days, maybe you get this blue cheese, but this is just what I want in a beef flavor. That's what it is. It's tender, so the enzymatic breakdown happened. It broke down. The moisture has been removed, and you've got that really intensified beef flavor. This steak, I mean, I don't know about where you guys live around here. Dry aged steaks go for $80 a piece, you know, and they're usually 21 day. So anyway, so with the Steakager Pro 40, you can have dry aged beef any day of the week at a fraction of the cost. So it no longer is a special order item. You can have it anytime. Pull it out of your freezer, got dry aged steak any night of the week. Cook it sous vide, cook it in a cast iron skillet, cook it over charcoal, cook it in an oven, reverse sear, whatever you want. I don't judge. But typically I don't judge. Yes, Lynn?
I said, Michael Garabian says, that's beautiful. I may eat my screen.
Awesome. So, with that, I hope you guys will try dry aged beef. If you're interested in the Steakager, it's www.thesteakager.com. Check out all the models. It's awesome. They ship in 14 days. It is a beautiful, really nothing you need to do. It does all the work. You load it up, you come back and you take it out, and it's a beautiful thing. So, with that being said, thanks again to everyone who joined us for the first time. Thanks for you guys coming back, and I bid to you to be well, eat well, be kind, and love each other, because we are all we have in this world. And I will see you next time on the next Grateful Chef video, Cooking in the Kitchen with me, Chef Eric Eisenbud. Peace.